This episode is brought to you by BigMooseCoffeeCompany.co. Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast. This time last year, we were in Kenya for the For Rangers Ultra. We're not showing off. If you don't know, that's a 230km race split into 5 stages crossing 5 wildlife conservancies, and all profits from the race go to supporting our friends at Save the Rhino and For Rangers, a group of people who raise funds to help improve welfare for the brave folk who are out there protecting our wildlife, the incredible rangers. We saw elephants, there were rhinos, there were helicopters, there were reconnaissance planes. We even had an appearance from a living legend as our runners crossed open savannas teeming with amazing. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about that experience, which was epic, and we're going to talk about how the event came about in the first place, as well as dropping in a very important announcement. So keep your ears out. Pal, how we doing?
Quite loud.
Yeah, that was a big pal. So great, I've got an editing job to do straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Oh, cheers, pal. So kind.
Happy Yorkshire Day. We missed it, didn't we?
Yeah, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
I mean, Don't tell anyone, but I'm not actually from Yorkshire originally.
Can tell.
Oh, cheers, pal. What do you mean you can tell? Am I drinking the wrong kind of tea? You have a lot of rules here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You have a coat.
Coit. Get that coit.
There are odd things that have raised an eyebrow in the past that but saying that, I'm not properly from Yorkshire. I was born in Germany.
That is very, very not Yorkshire.
Yeah, so like I came here when I was months old. Near as damn it, but I do like to put towels on beds really early in the morning and wear Speedos and eat salami and
Yep.
drink beers out of vases rather than pint glasses.
You're a well-known fan of sausages.
Yeah, if you want to go.
Yeah.
Damn it, Will. Where are you from?
Norfolk originally.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Give me 6.
Big up. You know what? I was going to try and go in there with something positive there. That's it. That's the entire county's worth of listeners we've just lost.
Yeah, well.
It's early days at the moment. Now that's sure probably a couple of dozen people. But
I'm sure the family have already had a chat about us around the table.
Well, I'm related to all of them, so, there's the family WhatsApp group's a nightmare. Just endless notifications.
It's full of people in Norfolk complaining about the weather.
So, Yorkshire Day then, yeah?
Happy Yorkshire Day, everyone, for those that missed it. For those that don't know what Yorkshire is, it's the greatest county in the world.
Yep.
One of the greatest places in the world. And we can say one of the greatest places because we've been fortunate enough to go to other places and realise that there are places quite close.
But we always come back to Yorkshire.
We do.
Aye.
We do.
Been another significant day this week, hasn't there?
World Ranger Day.
You see how I slotted that in there.
Segue, son.
Yeah, that was good.
World Ranger Day, where we take a day to reflect on the heroes that work on the front line of conservation.
Yeah.
A very worthy day. And I think it is rather fitting that we would have actually been on the For Rangers race this time last year, I think.
Yeah, the whole Facebook memories thing came up over the last couple of days.
For Rangers Day, I think, last year. We've moved a little bit later this year because we moved a little bit out of tourist season just to make the odd thing a bit cheaper. And so the conservancies weren't as busy with other tourists and stuff. I mean, the conservancies are quiet anyway. You don't see another soul while you're on there, but the staff are busy with main tourist season and airports are a little busier, roads are a little busier. So we thought we'll come out of tourist season and just move it a little later.
This is it, unlike our other races, I guess. We're not just working to our calendar on this one. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's why we're now mid-September rather than Augusty time.
Yeah, but this is it. We would literally have been in the race this time last year.
Yeah, and we're about 40 days out now. About that? Yeah,
I'm going to say yes. It sounds
one common thing that there's a couple of common things that people themes that run throughout our podcast. One is that we're absolutely awful with numbers.
Yeah.
We're always guesstimating on numbers and stuff like that. We should probably come with some facts. The second, if you're watching on YouTube, is that this olive tree is now getting crazily out of control to the point where I think by season 3, it's going to look like Jumanji in here with those vines.
I'm not going to lie to you, it's making me a little bit nervous because
Yeah,
it seems to be growing in your direction as well.
It seems to be growing while we're talking. So he is going to have a haircut, I think, some point over the next few days.
Gonna have to.
And hi, YouTube, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Hello, YouTube. Or, if you like, hello, YouTube.
Oh, 2 cameras.
Oh, that's another edit I'm going to have to do.
Yeah, so those that did watch on YouTube last time, you may realise that we only had the first 20 minutes recorded.
We always meant to do that.
Yeah, it's because we didn't realise that Will's fancy camera that costs him thousands of pounds can't record for longer than 20 minutes.
It's disinclined to currently, yes.
Yeah,
But,
so-
that's fair enough. Who wants to look at us for longer than that anyway?
So we're dual wielding at the minute. We've got
Yeah,
both
we are.
cameras working, knowing that one's probably going to die. We've got the GoPro on backup.
We are double parked camera-wise.
And then the other thing is we promised an episode with Dave Stash, and we had a little flip reverse it, and we put Paul Tierney in. The reason for that is because...
We hate Dave Stash. Yeah. The reason for that is we offended Tyson Fury with our jokes that we made about stuff that you never even will get to hear now. I'm very sorry about that.
Well, no, we spoke about Tyson's love of Milky Ways before the David Stash episode.
did.
So
Yes,
that's still out there. That's
I
still
hope
out.
Tyson's not offended by that.
But it was a great episode that we recorded with Dave. It is a great
really was.
episode. We just had a few sound issues with the mic, so we're going to re-record it. And the good news is we're going to hopefully... on that episode, we spoke about how what we were speaking about could essentially be a mini-series of episodes where we could have other nutritionists in, because we was getting into some great detail on performance for athletes and all these kind of things. And there was just so much that we could... So hopefully when we do come back with Dave, we're going to re-record the episode that we did do, getting the same great content.
Yep.
We're going to then add on to that a part 2 and a part 3. So you guys, as a result of our mess up, Will's mess up, is gonna
Straight under the bus.
are gonna get more content. So that's why that's swapped round. And
We want to do it justice.
yeah, exactly. If it's not perfect, we're not putting it out.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a rule we can apply the entire time.
If it's not okay or above standard of the average,
If it's not at least entertaining.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was as entertaining as it was. There was just little sound issues that we couldn't edit out, and we thought
started to great.
Yeah.
We just thought we can do better than this. So
So
we're going to
we're
do
gonna-
better than this, and you are going to get the benefit of listening to that when it happens.
yeah, but as it's for Rangers, or just been for Rangers Day, and we've got the For Rangers Ultra coming up, we're going to talk about the For Rangers race.
Because it's
today.
rangery at the moment, isn't it?
It's Rangery AF.
Yeah, I would
AF,
say.
to keep it family friendly. We're in the middle of planning. It's that kind of exciting phase where everything's starting to get locked in. Runners have now mostly sent their insurances and their medical forms. If you haven't, by the way, runners, do it now. If you're listening to this and
you're
you've
running
not
with this
done it
this year.
yet, listen to the anger in my voice. Do it now. Chasing people up for medical forms and just do it. Just do it, and then we'll leave you alone. Once you've done that, we'll give you your race number, and then everyone can get on with their lives.
I mean, Kris receives a lot of emails, and I know it bothers you sometimes, the size of your inbox, as it were. I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere, but again, we're keeping it family friendly. But this is a rare time where Kris is annoyed enough about an issue that he will encourage people to send in emails. To
I
him.
want
So,
your emails.
Yeah, we just want them forms.
Yeah. So do that. Then that keeps me from having a minor aneurysm.
Yep.
Like my eyes start to go bloodshot close to the time when it there's a reason it's 3 months in advance, and that's so we can book things for you. Anyway, I'm not here for a rant. This isn't a therapy session, Will.
No.
It's getting to that exciting time where the coaches are being booked. We're even doing things like buying the marking chalk. We're booking the final bits like the award ceremonies. We've got the medals that have arrived. The tracker numbers are being assigned. So it kind of gets exciting at this phase where we're thinking,
You start getting to the bells and whistles phase.
it's actually coming to the point where we've got to deliver this event. And on the back of last year, I'm super excited because it is just the most amazing place. Bias aside, take the race out of this consideration. Take the For Rangers Ultra away from the location. That location, I would live there tomorrow. And I said it outright from the start. I want to spend the rest of my years here. I love the place.
See, oddly, as you've said that, Peru has popped up on the screen behind you, and I'm looking at that as if to say, don't forget about me. I'm still good. We're not slagging
Peru.
off anywhere else.
Peru's
Peru.
amazing.
You're beautiful.
But for me, that region of Kenya pulled every string of my heart. Like, I fell in love with the place, and so did everyone else that was there. And the reason for that is because it's this area of complete natural beauty,
stunning,
that not many people get to go to. It is crammed full to a degree, if you can say that, with wildlife that is heavily protected.
Yeah.
And it is just the most insane place. Places like Oljogi, where we go, you can count, you're talking like hundreds of people have been there, not thousands in their lifetime, hundreds. You know, not many people get to go there. And even the cameraman that we used, one of the cameramen we used last year, who's worked in Kenya most of his life, had never been allowed in there. So for him to get access, he was like a kid in a candy shop. So we'll talk a bit more about each conservancy in a bit. And it's probably important to say that this episode is going to be in 2 parts.
Yes, indeed.
So we're going to talk about the For Rangers Ultra in terms of a practical sense today. So we've got our BTU social this weekend.
We have.
Where we're going to meet up with Save the Rhino and Dave the Rhino. So
hi, Dave Hill. Shout out.
Dave Hill.
Dave the Rhino.
We have too many Daves in our kind of working life, so we've named him Dave the Rhino.
Yeah.
Because it works.
It just helps us to sort it out.
But we're meeting them this weekend, and we're going to talk to a bunch of upcoming runners for that race and other runners about tips and stuff. For tips on the For Rangers Ultra, if you've not listened to it already, go and listen 2 episodes back to our Jungle Ultra Top 10 tips.
Yep.
Because in that top 10 tips for the Jungle Ultra, there's a lot of transferable stuff for any ultramarathon. So things like training for hills, which are very important for the For Rangers Ultra because it's hilly, really hilly, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Acclimatization, so getting there early, getting comfortable, getting your stuff. Consistency, packing light. They're all things that are probably transferable across all of our races.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
so
in the jungle episode and in the ice episode, the top 10 tips we did there, we've covered a lot of those.
Yeah, patted amongst those tips. We're going to talk about practical stuff about that race in particular, not in a top 10 tippy style, but just adding points to them. And then the second part of this episode is going to be with the legend, which is Kathy Dean.
I can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
We're going to record with her tomorrow.
Yeah.
Down in London. And she is going to talk about the conservation side of this race, where the money goes, what it goes to, why it goes there, and what the legacy of this event holds.
Yeah. And a little bit about Save the Rhino's work in general.
Yeah, because, I mean, she's a legend.
Yeah, she's absolutely wonderful, and the work they do is fantastic.
Yeah, and women listening to this podcast, if you are looking for an inspirational woman to draw energy from, Kathy Dean emits it.
Yeah, she's got it in buckets.
A beacon.
I'm sure you can just have some.
She probably would just go, here you go.
Yeah. If you could sell that, I'd have some.
Yeah,
ideal.
Kathy Dean's energy.
Yeah.
But she is a legend of a woman, and we know that you're going to enjoy that episode as well. So it might not be particularly, she'll talk about the race. She did the race last year herself. Yeah. So she'll have some tips as a runner. But just the fascinating world of that, the often depressing world, but also quite inspirational world of conservation.
Absolutely. And we're playing to our strengths a lot here, where if we're going to talk about Kenya and racing out in Kenya and the For Rangers Ultra, this is the more racy episode. I don't mean racy, do I? Because that makes it sound like it's a bit of blow. Not that. But, this is the episode a bit more about the race, because that's what we know about. And then we'll talk to Kathy Dean about all the fundraising side and the work they do out there, because that is what she knows about.
She knows everything about it, and we've learned a lot about it, but feel like she would definitely do that justice. Yeah. So if you're ever wondering about doing that race, or you're booked onto it, this episode is going to drop on the Sunday, and Kathy's episode will actually drop while the race is on. So if you're listening to Kathy's episode, the race is on, go follow the runners, go see what you're doing. You can help raise the funds with them and stuff. We do have an announcement to make, though.
I've been waiting. I thought we were going to open with it.
No. Tease it on.
Right.
We are officially launching the ballot for the For Rangers Ultra right now.
Now.
Just then.
Not that second now, the first now.
Yeah.
It's open now.
So in the room at the social, we've quietly done it.
Yeah, we've quietly tapped those people on the shoulder.
If you've come to our social and you're listening to this, well done. You're already in the ballot. Congratulations. You're in. You've just got to wait and hold out. If you're a podcast listener and you're wanting to get on, now is your time. Get into the ballot. It's going to officially open later this week to everyone. But if you're in there and you're in the first, you get put in the draw. We know you're a podcast listener. We know you went to our social. It's all good.
Boom.
Get in the ballot.
We should quantify this a little bit just to be absolutely clear. This episode's going to be going out on the evening of the 4th.
Yeah.
The evening of the 4th of August, 2019, for anyone who's listening to this in the future.
Hello, future people.
Hello, future people. So if you are one of our loyal listeners who will be downloading this as soon as it comes out, good for you, because you're going to be the first people to find out this news out there in the world.
Interestingly enough, if you're listening to this in the future, we're just about in Britain. We've just had Boris Johnson as a Prime Minister. We're heading towards a no-deal Brexit. And by the time you're listening to this, it might be some kind of Mad Max apocalyptic style desert driving around on cars with flames coming out of them world that we're in.
Well, I'm hoping so, yeah.
Very much like Namibia. If that is the case, we're going to still endeavour to try and do the For Rangers race in our Mad Max apocalyptic. It could even end up the other way with climate change. It could end up being like a Kevin Costner Waterworld.
I just want to say as well, if that does happen, just as civilization is collapsing, if somebody could clear my browser history and empty the bottom drawer in my bedside table, that'd be absolutely mint. Thanks, future me. You got this.
So yeah, that's for you future people. We're digressing again.
Badly.
Let's forget about apocalyptic waterworlds.
Forget about my bottom drawer.
Yeah, forget about your bottom drawer. Let's not even touch your browser history.
The look in your eyes now as you're looking across at me.
I know what your browser history probably contains, and it's a lot of
Star Trek references.
Yeah, probably. Anime.
7 of 9. That's a niche joke.
If you got that joke, unsubscribe.
No, if you got that joke, tweet at me directly. And I'll have some kind of prize ready.
The ballot's open.
To cut a long story short, the ballot for Rangers Ultra 2020 is open.
All right. And we have 70 places available.
And they will go.
Yeah. And to put it into kind of some... last year when we had 70 places available, we had over 600 applicants.
Yeah.
So we take 70 in a reserve list of 20, and the reserve list is picked at random. So you may think, oh, well, my chances are quite slim at getting that. No, they're not.
No, they're the same as everybody else's.
Just apply.
Yeah.
And if you want to guarantee yourself a place, guess what? Do our Desert Ultra. You don't even have to enter the ballot. You're straight in.
Yeah.
Boom, just walk in.
We've tried to tell you.
Yeah, we've told you a few times. But for those that are already on the Rangers race, well done.
Congratulations.
You've made a wise choice. You will be in your final weeks of training. Hopefully this podcast will give you some extra tips.
We have timed this well, haven't we?
Yeah. It's like we've almost planned it.
Almost planned is pretty much exactly how we do this podcast.
Yeah. By planning, we mean... we thought about it last Thursday, maybe.
Everything endurance. Almost planned. That was the Marks and Spencer's version of the advert.
So let's go into a few things that we think is specific for this race of what we need. Then we're going to talk out of that will probably come information about the conservancies and what to expect. And then we'll probably finish about how this race actually came about, because that's quite a cool story as well.
Yeah, and we're going to have to be careful and look at the clock from time to time, because we could talk about this one forever.
We often do.
Yeah.
So I think the most common question that comes in, well, there's three really. The first one is, how cold is it in the evening?
And there's an argument for us almost having underestimated that a little last year.
When we say how cold it is, when you compare it to our Ice Ultra,
Not
that
cold.
cold.
Not cold at all.
Seasonal.
Balmy.
When you compare, when you put it into context that you guys have probably packed shorts and t-shirts and possibly a waterproof for if it rains, if you're that way inclined, if you don't want to get wet at all.
Well, given how close we are to the equator,
yeah,
literally
if
we
you
end on
packed
it.
for that, then it's freezing.
Yeah.
It is like that place that they go to on Thor. When they go, when there's all those ice beasts.
Something Heim.
Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim.
Yeah, let's go with
Hoffenheim's
that.
a German football team.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Hoffenheim.
So it's like that in the evening. It's at altitude. There's often clear skies. Bloody
And this is the thing.
freezing.
The brilliant thing when you're camping, or one of the many brilliant things when you're camping in the middle of nowhere out in Kenya, is, at the time of year we're going there, the clouds are nearly cloudless. The skies are beautiful. You can see every star for like a million miles in every direction. It's incredible. But that doesn't make for warmth.
No,
It
it might
doesn't
make
at all.
your heart warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
But your internal body temperature will be like sub-zero.
And
So
you'll forget you're above sea level because you don't notice it so much during the day, but you'll notice it.
yeah. So think hot in the day, hottish, not boiling hot, just hottish.
Yeah.
Nice and cold at night. So if that affects the sleeping bag you bring, let that information affect that. So bring a slightly beefier sleeping bag than a tissue.
Trust a man who knows that the £10 Argos sleeping bag that I took last year thinking, well, it's going to be warm anyway, what does it matter, will not be enough.
Yeah. And bring, like any other race, bring options of layers. Bring a decent coat. Might be worth even bringing a hat.
Possibly a hat
For
or
the
a buff.
weight of it, or a buff.
Or
double
whatever
buff.
the generic name for a buff is.
Double wrap buff running thing.
Yeah.
Double of them.
We'll go with
Earplugs.
Yeah.
We forgot to mention this on the Jungle Ultra, but any ultra marathon, you're sleeping in close proximity. On this race, you're in tents of 12 to 16. Bring earplugs. If you want a
Definitely
decent
bring
night's
earplugs.
sleep,
You only
because
need one snorer.
one of the 16 could mess your entire night up, and no one admits it. And then you end up trying to put yourself in a tent without the snorers, and it always ends up that you get that person. So earplugs, warm stuff for the evening is definitely what I would advise.
And you remember, earplugs, the camp at Oliogi last year, those lions.
You said oliogi then, like alioli, the garlic sauce. Old Jogi.
Or whenever I type Oljogi into my phone or whatever, it always puts a little apostrophe on it, so it's like Oljogi. Love it.
Like Yogi Bear's granddad.
Yeah. Oljogi. He'll nick your picnic basket and then have your face off. But yeah, not to worry people with the mentioned lions, but it's fantastic, and you wouldn't want to miss out on the fact that you can hear the lions roaring during the night around that base camp on the other side of the fence. Just to be absolutely
the lions
clear.
at Old Jogi that you hear, there's a bit of both actually. The ones that sound like they're in your tent, they're at because we sleep at the sanctuary.
Yeah.
So that lion has been rescued, put there, because the second it gets released, the other lions are going to have a good old field day at it because young male. So he stays there. It makes a noise. It's quite loud, really loud actually, considering he's a couple of 100 meters away. But he's got his area. He's fine in his sanctuary. But you do also hear the lions on the conservancy. Like the nights I was in Lewa prior to the race, they were very close, and they are about. And our rangers are there.
And they're loud.
And they're loud. So even if it's a case of just making sure you don't hear the lions, you might just want one earplug. I can guarantee actually with the earplugs in, you'll probably still hear them. So if you're worried about missing out and that's stopping you. The reason why you want to bring warm clothes and so is to have a good night's sleep. It can make all the difference the next day.
All the difference.
Yeah. So if you're carrying an extra, let's say 500, 600 grams of warm clothes, if it means you get an extra 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, I would make that trade quite easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's no ridiculous kit items in this race like the jungle where you got to bring hammocks and stuff like that. So if you are looking at a kind of weight of your bag, a set amount, bring some warm stuff for the evening, it's worthwhile.
100%.
Second thing is the plastics.
Yes, bit of an unusual one.
Yeah, so as a whole, across our race series, we're looking at actually, we've got a quite ambitious aim to become plastic free by 2022.
Indeed. We're doing well with that.
Yeah, so we don't use plastic. So, for example, on our ice ultra, we melt snow and use fresh lake water and don't use plastic bottles.
Yep.
We use a collective amount of tape that we reuse and recycle, which is plastic for the thing, and that's it. That's the only plastic we use. In the jungle, we use boxes of water rather than plastic bottles, which reduces the amount.
Yep.
Once again, we need tape. Necessity for safety, we need tape, so we use that, and we're still looking at alternatives that we can use out there.
And we remove every piece of tape from all of our races,
yeah.
But also the race tape is the biodegradable stuff.
Yeah. In Kenya, we do actually use bottles. We're looking at solutions to remove those bottles. We use big 20-litre tankards as opposed to lots of little thingies. But then we don't use marking tape, we use chalk.
Yep.
And in the desert, we have a Bowser and flags, so we don't use any plastic.
No plastic at
all. So we're looking across our whole series to bin plastic, as a lot of countries are. So in Peru, they've got a plastic ban. So we're looking at ways that we can safely mark our course. It's a bit more of a tricky situation in the jungle. And Kenya have also introduced a single-use plastic ban, which I just think is fantastic.
Great. Yeah.
It does create a bit of a middle-class problem for our runners because they can't backpack their food.
Yes.
And it is a thing of like, well, Tanzania have got this statement and there's Kenya got it. And the answer is no. Kenya have enforced a single-use plastic ban. And we don't know ourselves to what degree they're going to enforce that on the border.
Because ultimately it is enforced fairly unevenly, unofficially, not having a go at anyone.
Yeah, so it depends on what border agent you get. Very much like Sweden or Peru. It depends who you get when you cross the border and how pissed off they are that day or how much they just want to go home and just let you pass. So if you want to take plastic and you want to risk the Ziploc bags, you can, but if you haven't got a contingent, you are running a risk. There are alternatives. There's silicone bags that you can use.
Yep.
If you contact John at Firepot Food, who we have a discount with, he will give you non-branded biodegradable bags that you use. They're a little lighter than the plastic and you don't have to repackage and everything like that. Just ask. There are alternatives. If you are living in a country which things like that aren't easy to get, drop a message in a group and I can guarantee someone from the UK will bring you out a 20 pack of silicone bags or whatever like that if you want to decant. So
this being exactly the kind of thing that Facebook group is for.
Yeah. So we have to be careful because I can't say, right, fine, go and use this bag, you'll get through, because we just don't know.
And this, to anyone else that's listening that isn't necessarily signed up for the For Rangers Ultra, which is going to be a lot of people, this is something that you need to think about when you're doing any of these type of races. Check this kind of stuff before you turn up in the country, because if you have decanted all of your food bags into single-use plastic, which a lot of people will have done before the race, and they do enforce the policy properly at the border when you get there, your surprise there is that you're now in Nairobi with no food for your race.
Yeah, and
because
it's
they've
not going to be easy
confiscated
to come by. Yeah, so
yeah.
And it touches on the point of like, oh, what vaccinations do I need? We can't advise on that either because country policies are different, not only for the country that you're traveling to, but the country that you're coming from.
Yeah.
So legally, I can't say to you, you need this, 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 and this. We need to know what you've had and what you haven't. So, for example, if you've had yellow fever or if you haven't had the yellow fever vaccination, makes no difference to us. We would say follow your own country rules, but we need to know that in case there's a diagnosis process. If you become ill, we can rule things out. So that's what that's about. Go to the embassy's website in your country for Kenya. So the Kenyan embassy in London, if you're in the UK, and you can go to their website and you can inquire there.
You can email them. They're very helpful.
Yeah. Or you can go to the Kenyan Tourist Board site. There's loads of things you can do, but it's constantly changing. You've got to keep looking at that. It's just like if you was traveling to any other country. We can't do that for you. We can just, if there's any major announcements, that's when we'll update you. There has to be an element of control on there.
We don't have the qualifications or the capacity to tell you what shots you need and exactly what to turn up with.
Exactly, yeah. So, and there's malaria, for example. Malaria in Kenya, you may want to take that. What we will say is that race is at 2,500 metres in average height, and there aren't many mosquitoes at all.
No.
Are you doing future travel? Could you get it in Nairobi? Yes. up to you if you want to take your malaria medication again. Once again, for us, it isn't a mandatory requirement. We just need to know if you're on it or you're not.
Yeah, and if you happen to be doing a race where it is a mandatory requirement, then you better have it in your bag. But if you're not, it's up to you to do the research.
Yeah. So that's that. That's the kind of boring stuff, isn't it? The kind of
I suppose a little
medical lease stuff and things.
It is incredibly important. It's got to be a whole experience.
The other question is course profile. Can you provide a course profile? And I'm always nervous to hand them out across all of our races because of the nature of them. We chop and change a lot days before. So for example, last year we had a route lined out from a year before from the recce, and then 2 days prior we get to a certain point and it's swamped because the rainy season was particularly bad and the Silk Road was degraded, and there was another bit where there was a male buffalo and they're territorial, so we would have had a bit of problem shifting him, so we had to move that again. So I'm nervous about handing out the topography of things when it could change a lot. But what I can tell you is that because of the nature of the race, we try and put our checkpoints at high up places so they have a eye and a visual on the area surrounding them, as do you. If we were going through thick bush Kenya, it would be really hard to police animals because you can have an elephant. I'm convinced an elephant could hide behind that olive tree somehow and I wouldn't see it.
There could be one there now.
Yeah.
You'd have no idea.
So they are, for the size of them, sneaky little grey ninjas.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
They move silently and they just pop out of nowhere. So we try and make most of the course open plan. There are bits that you have to go through those kind of bushy areas where there'll be a higher compound of rangers and more flights with the choppers and planes and stuff. But most of the checkpoints and operational points, which is a new addition to this race, is having like not a mid checkpoint, but just a ranger checkpoint almost of just a squad of guys, are in high up places.
Yeah.
So with that, get used to doing hills because you will essentially do 10K and the last 2 to 3K of each 10K will be uphill.
It sounds.
I'd say that safely. Like most of the checkpoints, there's a 2 to 3K climb to get to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So
that sound advice, because I don't think I've ever done a race or gone anywhere where someone will always tell you that it's gently undulating or it's a fairly flat route. There are parts of it
that are undulating, you know, like that you think of like Loldiga before you get to the checkpoints. There's these rolling, lovely, long stretches that you think, yeah, man, this is great. But then you just get Old Jokey Hill.
Yeah.
So I would say this isn't particularly a hilly route. It's lumpy. It's just
that's the right word.
You're either up or down, and there's very few odd bits of just flat.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, of course, is so you get to see this beautiful environment. You'll see how lumpy it is when you get there, but just as a safety feature. So we can provide, and we do, all of the rangers.
Yep.
To help keep you safe. There's a chopper up in the air that's dotting around sporadically throughout the day, and there's a plane that kind of flies over in lines to have a look, that kind of scouts ahead. But there are a lot of animals in this area, and I think like throughout last year we moved close to about 200 elephant. And when we say move, they're still in eye shot for you guys. They just gently nudged away.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nobody's going in there with cattle prods.
No, and I think that falls nicely with our other questions, like what happens? How do you guarantee the safety, and what happens? You know, we had one the other day of like, I hope that none of the rangers shoot the animals and all those kind of things. And of course,
I understand where that question comes from.
And of course, like this is an area where we have to take great pride in saying that this race wouldn't be possible without the network of teams that are working together. And as much I say it on every race, there's a big difference between danger and risk. And if this race was dangerous, we wouldn't do it. No one would do it. But there are obvious risks. But the reward for those risks in this case is ridiculously high.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be allowed on these conservancies in foot in any other circumstances. You wouldn't be allowed on your own, in quoted bunny ears, under any other circumstances. You wouldn't see these animals on foot in any other circumstances. So it's a very unique race in that sense. What we're doing constantly is battling the freedom of almost like a freedom of movement of the animals. We don't want to get in their way or cause any distress.
Absolutely.
We want to keep the rangers safe because we don't want to risk any rangers' life in protecting these either or. The rangers are almost stood. Remember that game Lemmings?
Yes.
Where you had a blocker?
Yeah.
That's the rangers, really. They're kind of like saying to the runners, you crack on there, and animals, you stay there. They act almost like that as a buffer. And then obviously we don't want the runners to get injured. So it's this three-way dynamic where we're there to save the animals, we're there for the runners to have a good time, and we're there to increase the welfare of the rangers. So we have a three-pronged approach of welfare for each of them. And the nature of that is we don't cut any corners with it. Like that's why we have planes and we have choppers and we have all of the cars and we have drones and we have 200 rangers. And it is elaborate and over the top, but it's a way to keep everyone safe.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It might look a little over the top from the outside, but how could we do it otherwise?
Yeah, and to be honest, I think that the runners realise quite quickly. So if you're on this race, you think, oh, I hope I see an elephant. You will see an elephant.
You're going to see an elephant. One of those little grey ninjas is going to pop out of the shrub somewhere.
Yeah. If you are thinking, I hope I see a rhino, you probably will.
Yeah, you
probably will.
You're going to see a rhino.
But to put it, it's not like you're running through Longleat. It's not like you're running through a small fenced area, load of animals. This is, Old Jogie alone is 66,000 acres.
Yeah.
These are massive. These are areas the size of Yorkshire, of pure counties that have just got protected areas around. They've got a fence around them.
Yeah.
But it's such a huge area. So it's when we say there are a lot of animals, it's not like you're going to be fighting through them and it's going to seem almost like we've staged it. But these animals are they're in their natural habitat, they're in their home. It's just an amazing experience.
And that's the key, isn't it? They're in their natural habitat.
Yeah.
So we're very much, controlling and cajoling our race through their area.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah, and I think in most of our races, it's almost like we have to have permission from Mother Nature to be allowed through. So the jungle, if it doesn't want us to pass, we won't pass. The ice, if it doesn't, the stars don't align, then we have to, call it off. The animals are Mother Nature in this respect, and we have to respect them, and we pause races and stop things at checkpoints if we feel like we need more time to move things on. So in terms of like the raciest race, it's not really that. This is an ultra marathon in some relatively extreme weather that is tough, just like our others, but has that element of just bonus to the rangers, bonus to the wildlife. Yeah, it's just win-win, isn't it?
We've got the wow factor on this one.
Yeah, no other event like it on the planet.
I said that out loud.
Yeah, no other event like it on the planet. So
we started a stage last year with a helicopter.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was very, very cool.
Very cool, actually. Yeah,
yeah, it was really good.
So it's you're going to have an amazing time. That's for sure. So, and what you need to do is not worry about those kind of things. You just sit back and have a relax, but just be aware. So for that reason, which brings us on to another tip, we don't allow you to wear headphones.
Yeah.
Just because you need all of your senses aware when you're moving through this environment.
I mean, we are reducing the likelihood of you coming face to face with anything nasty by an awful lot, but those little grey ninjas will sneak up on you if you can't hear them.
Yeah. So
you've got to hear that rustle in the hedgerow.
Yeah.
You've got to hear that ranger telling you, stop there for a moment.
Exactly. So if you don't have headphones in, the sound of Kenya is pretty nice.
Beautiful.
But if you're training and you're one of those people that doesn't run without headphones, do a couple of runs without, just to get used to it. And the sound of East Shoreditch might not be the same. Wherever you're running, the sound of Chesterfield or Macclesfield might not be the same as the rolling hills of Kenya. But if you can run without music, happy days.
Ideal.
But yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. And then I think other questions on that, what people pack. It's the same. I was like, what people pack for food, all those kind of things, and the answer's the same. It's completely individual.
Do some experimentation. You need to know what works for you. Yeah.
I I'm trying to think now of any other questions that kind of come in.
Anything that comes up regular about this race? Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
No, so we're going to go through some kind of nitty-gritty tips at the social. But if you've listened to the Jungle podcast and you've added those bits in, I think you're pretty much there. Like and it's that answer of how does it actually work is probably the biggest thing, and you don't really understand it until you're there, and you'll realize how good these rangers are at their job. Another tip I'd actually have is quite a good one is learn how to say hi and thank you in Swahili.
Yeah, absolutely do.
Little things like if you Jambo is hello or hi, A up in Kenyan Swahili.
Yeah.
And Asante is thank you, like the 90s singer.
Asante.
Oh no, she was a shanty.
Yeah, that was a shanty.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you say it quickly enough, they might think you've just got a Sean Connery voice going on, like it's very
shanty.
A shanty shana.
Yeah, so if you say Asante, that means thank you.
I add on Asante Sana. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're
even more gratitude.
Practically fluid. So if you learn to say those words as well, you are going to interact with these rangers and you're going to speak to them. So quite a lot of them will speak English as well. So they'll come and run a few 100 meters with you at a time, and they will come and see how you're doing and shake your hand and cheer you on. And yeah, they're great fun.
It's part of what made the atmosphere so awesome last year was how happy, how welcoming, how friendly all of the rangers were.
Yeah.
Because you would have every right as someone, if you are just setting foot in the African continent for the first time, we're not used as English people to walking into people carrying guns. I mean, they look for all the world because they have to be kitted out for every eventuality, and they work in an environment where there can be an awful lot of risk. And they are carrying a lot of equipment that makes them look quite intimidating. Intimidating is the last thing I would say any of them are.
No, they are extremely grateful.
They're as involved in this race as the runners are.
Yeah, and they love it because they know that, that it's just, I think for them, a lot of these rangers haven't even gone out of their village. They work in the Conservancy and they never leave the village. A few of them get flown out by organisations like Save the Rhino and For Rangers to London, and they see this new world that they've not even been to Nairobi, never mind London. But most of them have not been out of their local area, their region, and the world is that size to them to a degree. So the problems they're facing are there in their face all of the time. So this poaching crisis is their world, and they don't get to see how involved or how supportive the world at large can be. So to have these people fly from all over the world to come and support them in their little fight of what they're going on in their backyard, they realize the scale of that. So they are extremely grateful, and they go out of their way to make sure that you have the best time. And that, for me, is a priceless add-on to this. And the fact that the runners are there for the rangers are there for the runners, and you've got this really nice dynamic of...
Man, if we were being ruthless capitalists about this, for that race, we could... we could charge whatever and make it all about the money and just bring people there because it's beautiful running in Kenya and it's exclusive. It's not what it is. It feels like a community thing. Yeah. You are going out there to support those people as they look after you during the event. It's all, it's just fantastic being able to do this and also say to people that you're going to be raising an awful lot of money through being a part of this event, and it's going back to the people who are looking after you as you run along this course.
Yeah. And in its first year, it raised £110,000. Like, that goes a long way.
Yeah, like fantastic.
For those that haven't, that might be involved in these kind of races long term, you'll probably have an idea of how races like this operate. But no race makes money in its first year. This race made £110,000 towards the Rangers on the hard work of the runners, raising additional money on top. And that's probably actually another question that comes in, is how the money thing works and stuff like that. Yeah. So Kathy will tell us more about how that £110,000 was spent, and we hope that even more is raised this year from the runners. The runners are doing really well so far.
No pressure.
Yeah. We haven't got a caveat in there that runners have to fundraise. It's an optional add-on. And the reason for that is when you pay your fee, your race fee, your £2,500, that goes towards the cost of the race itself. So the logistics of the support team, the vehicles, the camps, the chopper support, the plane support, your water, medical cover, insurances, conservancy fees where applicable, licenses where applicable, hotel after party, medal, tracking system, all that.
Your eyes were starting to do that bloodshot thing again there. This is your life that you've just described.
So data for our team to send messages back home, satellite phones, radios, all these things, that's what your fee goes towards. And what I work closely with Sam on, and this is Sam's main area, and what he's brilliant at, is Sam will go round and ask for cheaper prices and donations of things and stuff like that to make that race fee lower. So it'd be if it wasn't for Sam, this race wouldn't be impossible, because a chopper and a plane for that amount of time with 70 people paying £2,500, your budget would just go on that.
Yeah,
for sure. You'd have no race. You'd just have a chopper and a plane for an hour a day. So through Sam's contacts and the amazing work Sam's done over the years, he speaks to these people, and anything over that, so we have all of the costs, the hard costs of providing the race, anything over that goes into the pot of profit, goes to the Rangers. So 100% of that goes in. And that amount varies each year dependent on costs of things and coaches and all those kind of things, and how me and Sam work closely and wheeler deal in that. 100% of the fundraisers go to the Rangers as well. So even though it's not been a caveat to fundraise, you can guarantee that some of your money, of your race fee, is going to the Rangers.
Yeah.
Some of it's going to go there.
100%.
From targets that me and Sam have set ourselves. Anything you raise on top of that is going directly to them as well. And that's what builds up to this 110,000 that we raised last year. We've got a personal aim that we'd love to get to 1 million in the next few years. I think about like how much £1 million is going to make a difference, and we can show, we'll try and show as much as we can of where the money's physically gone to in like videos and pictures and stuff. But that is always going to be a thing of, it's always an option to fundraise. We don't want to force it.
Yeah.
What we have introduced for this next year, and this might be a thing of when, if you've gone and had a little sneaky look onto the ballot and done your thing, you would notice that the price has gone from 2,500 to 2,750. So the price has increased by £250 for this next year. There's a few reasons for that. One is demand. Demand is really high, so we feel like if we can get more money for the Rangers, then fine. That helps us. It just gives us a little bit of a leeway in terms of our budgets, and we can make sure that, the Rangers are getting what they deserve. But the main reason for that is we've also added a secondary thing where if you raise £3,500 in fundraising, we give you £500 back off your race fee.
Yeah.
So,
there's another announcement.
Is there?
Well, sort of. The announcement here is, if you're signing up for the Rangers race 2020,
yeah, you can get £500 off.
You kind of buried the lead on that.
Yeah. I was like, huh? You can get £500 off if you raise £3,500.
Yeah.
So that in total, your contribution to For Rangers of you being there is worthy of a £500 kickback. From that, thank you very much. You've done an amazing job for Rangers. We want to reward you for that, and that's what we're doing. So £2,750 for a place on the Rangers Race 2020. Raised £3,500, which I think is achievable for quite a lot of people with hard work and the material, especially the material that Save the Rhino hand out and help and support.
Yep.
You get £500 off here, so you can.
Everyone's a winner, quite literally.
Don't know what you can do for £500 off the top of my head. What I would do with £500.
Pay someone to trim this tree back a little bit.
Yeah, I think what we would do with £500 is wildly different.
Almost certainly, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll leave that there.
What would you do with £500? Sweet as your answers.
And I think the opening sequence that we have done, which you don't even know about yet, but we're doing an open sequence for this podcast that will introduce this race and the conservancies that it goes on to give people the information of the race in a short 3-minute punchy.
Do you feel like you should have run that by me first?
I just feel like it. No,
fair enough.
Planned.
Almost planned.
So there'll be, if you're listening at this stage, you've already heard the conservancies that they land on, that you'll run through, and the protected areas and what the things go through. So we're not going to touch on that. But we should probably talk as well about how this race came about.
Well, there you go. You've stolen my segue because I had to itch my foot a little bit there. I was off the microphone. But yeah, that's what I was leading you into. You've mentioned Sam there.
Yeah, so Sam, he's been trying to call me actually while this episode's on, so I hope...
Hope that isn't anything urgent.
It'll be that he's got good news. 90% of the time it is. Sam is an interesting guy.
We'll have to do a podcast with Sam Taylor as well.
So Sam and Pete Newland. So Soldier Pete, if you're in the ultra running world, you'll know who Pete Newland is. Soldier Pete. They founded an organisation called For Rangers. And it was off the back of them working in that world, doing other stuff. Predominantly providing like training and just support and stuff like that. They just realised that there was a general lack of things like boots and socks and...
Yeah, the nuts and bolts, the day-to-day reality of being a ranger.
Yeah, so...
That's not the kind of glossy, sexy stuff that people necessarily publicise freely or feel that they want to contribute towards. And what For Rangers does is tell people about the importance of that sort of thing and very much focus on the welfare of the rangers.
Yeah, exactly. So they spotted that, there could be more done and set this up, and Sam will talk about that journey, I'm sure, when he starts talking about how he just recently conquered Everest as well, which is mad. But they started a little campaign with a bunch of friends and a ragtag group of conservationists and family friends and people that Sam found on the street that he could mainly Soldier Pete convincing anyone that he'd ever met to run ridiculous miles. Formed a group of runners and cyclists and rowers and went around the world doing a number of adventures to raise money for the Rangers, and they happened to do our jungle. That's when we first met them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we had a group of about 8 to 10, probably about 8, I think.
And we're not talking a long time ago here, are we? We're talking 2016?
Yeah, 2016. Back in 2016, they come and did that, and they were a good group, good event.
They were a great group, great punter.
There's a really good blog that we'll put in the description that Sam did about that race, about them like falling and slipping down banks into spikes, and one of them ordering Fuseley, thinking it was muesli for breakfast every day, and just
Oh god, yeah, that was it. Not muesli, they had fusilli pasta.
Yeah, so they'll admit themselves that they're a ragtag bunch of basically running bandits, and they did the race. They had an epic actually. Like they all made the long course,
including two of them that both had badly sprained ankles.
God knows how. I still don't know to this day how they got to the long course. They made the cut-off by 1 minute.
Yeah.
And he and Harry, and I think I don't know who Harry was with. He was with Keith and another one.
If you get this wrong, we're going to hear about it.
Harry, I think it was Holly. There was 2 Hollies. It was one of the Hollies, I think.
Yeah.
Matt. It was Matt. It wasn't Holly. It was Matt.
Okay.
Could be.
Probably, yeah.
Holly, Matt, whatever. There was a group of them that couldn't even walk in the morning. Between them, they could hardly walk. All of the group could hardly walk. But there was 3 or 4 of them that, especially Harry in particular, sticks out in my mind, couldn't even walk to the start line.
Yeah.
He was having to be carried by Keith to the start line with 2 poles, limping, and somehow they made it 40k through rivers and uphills and scorching heat and got to the cutoff within 1 minute and then continued on. And they didn't get in to the finish line 24 hours after they started. It's a 24-hour day on their long course. So it kind of gives you an idea of how committed these guys are.
Tenacity. Yeah. They've got
that. How committed they are, though, on the same hand, to raise money and awareness for these rangers.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
definitely.
really, like, me and you, I can remember, shared a look when they got there. There's a bit of tear in my eye. A lot of dust.
Oh, yeah, and we were very sleep deprived.
Yeah, but It was quite an emotional finish for them.
No, God, it was.
And it was for the reasons that they were doing it. And flippantly, day after, over a few beers, one of them said, I think it was Sam saying to Pete, "Oh, we'd put a wicked race on in our area," in earshot of me. And I kind of like, like when there's loads of conversations going on and then they just suddenly stop.
Yeah.
They were on the other side of the room and I was like, speak. Say some more words. And they started talking more about it, about how it would look and where it would go. And I was just falling in love with both of them. And I just kind of coolly and calmly went over and just went, yeah, we should talk about it.
And you kept it under your hat for a good while that was going on.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware.
Yeah, but that was it. It was like, oh, yeah, we should talk. Yeah, guys, yeah, cool for the Brooklyn Nine-Nine fans.
Which, if you're not one.
But inside of me was going, please let us work with you on this. This sounds like an amazing idea. We want to help. I want to help. We want to help. Come on.
Please, Sam.
Yeah, so anyway, 2-3 years of work. Having the two of us working together for Rangers and Beyond the Ultimate was working nicely. Then a third triad of Save the Rhino came in, and all of the questions that we couldn't answer were answered immediately. And then all of a sudden we had this beautiful triad that works together seamlessly.
A power trio. A proper power trio.
Seamlessly.
Yeah.
A seamless power triad.
A triumvirate, if you will.
There we go.
Yeah, you can have that.
So, yeah, the three of us working together, we all have our thing, we all work together. I don't think realistically this race would happen without that, safely. Anyone could organise a race. I could probably convince,
and run straight across the Conservancies if you want.
50 people to run through Longleat with me. But chances are, if it's just me and 50 people, there'll only be 30 of us at this finish, and there'll be a couple of full lions.
Yeah.
Where on this one, I'm confident to say that, yeah, without people like Sam, who is an absolute beast of a logistics organizer on that end of it, and Kathy Dean and Dave and all that, and our little team working together, wouldn't be possible.
No.
So it's a really unique experience, and that's how it came about. It was as simple as that: a flippant conversation in a concrete cinder block, dusty cabin in the middle of a jungle. And 3 or 4 years later, we're flying around in helicopters in Kenya, shooing off elephants. It's as simple as that story is. For those on YouTube, you would have seen Will hit his own microphone.
Yeah, and for those not on YouTube, I just hit my own microphone, so I'm sorry about that horrible noise that you'll have just had there.
But yeah, I think this year is going to be fun. 70 runners.
Yep.
Opportunity to raise even more.
I've got all of my fingers crossed, hoping I get another helicopter ride.
All the Conservancies will be on side. We might have some special guests come in and say hello to the runners.
Can't say anything.
Can't promise anything, but we're going to start pulling some strings like we did last year, and hopefully we can get a few special guests to come in.
We've managed to get this far without even mentioning that.
Yeah, so last year we managed to get this chap who's relatively good at running.
I don't know, they might not have heard of him. It's not really a big deal.
He can run a marathon.
Yeah.
It's quite quick, and just happened to be, I mean, at the time, I was probably ranked in the 50,000th fastest marathon runner in Kenya, probably in the millions of fastest marathon runners in the world. And we just happened to bump into the legend that's Eliud Kipchoge, who handed out the medals.
Which, I mean, what a guy. Just calmly, happily sat at the finish line on the equator for the day, just talking to everyone that crossed the line. Everyone that crossed the line looked like they were going to cry when they saw him.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an emotional moment normally, but then you realise the person handing you your medal is
Eliud Kipchoge.
Yeah. The greatest marathon runner ever.
And he was so cool to hang about with for the day. And I was with him for hours, and he's just the nicest guy. And to the point where he only had a set amount of time to be there. So he did have a cut-off because he had to go back and train in the evening.
Yeah.
And there was still 4 or 5 runners out on the course.
I forgot about this,
And there was a sentence that I never thought... There was a lot of sentences in that week that I said on a radio that I never thought I'd say in my life. Hi, Toby, it's Kris. I'm with Sam and Eliud Kipchoge right now, and Sam and Eliud have suggested that they fly to go see the last runners on the course before you go off and take Eliud home. Would you be able to just fly Eliud Kipchoge to some runners on the course to say hello? And radio comes back, yeah, of course. Like it was a nothing thing. And then, yeah, lo and behold, Eliud Kipchoge jumps in a helicopter. Toby flies down the course, lands next to a runner. And my favourite story is actually from Toby. who did that race, and he was like saying, I was already tripping because through exhaustion, and to see Eliud Kipchoge come out of a chopper and shake my hand, I thought I was honestly like...
He could be forgiven for thinking he was tripping balls.
Yeah, he got to the finish line and went, did that actually happen? I was like, that was
Eliud Kipchoge, yeah.
Flying in on a helicopter saying... That was one of those kind of smug moments as an RD where you go, ha, here's a challenge to all you other RDs in the world.
Also, if anyone from Eliud's team is listening, look, we didn't force him into the helicopter. Like, he was safe the whole time.
Yeah, but I think Eliud's really good friends with a couple of Rangers on Lay.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is an inner connectivity with him and the Rangers, and that's why it's really great to have. It's the home of long distance running with the fastest man in the world.
And again, it's the community, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an issue that made sense to him enough to support, and his friends are involved in it. So there he is to support it as well. That's amazing. That's the attitude of everyone we work with on this race.
Yeah. So and we've got a couple of links and contacts to a few people, and Eliud will be aware of the dates, and hopefully stars align that he can come again. We are not promising that. Yeah, he's a very busy man. He's a very busy man, but hopefully, whether he can pop in for some of it or, it's just one of those things, hopefully, fingers crossed. But he's a very busy man. He's got world records to go beat, and
yeah, he's got a lot on
he's going for the 2-hour marathon again. So, hopefully. And I told him that I lost money on the last time he failed. So
you did. I remember that.
I was quite angry.
He'll have taken that to heart.
I bet my mate £100 that Kipchoge would do it.
Well, Eliud Kipchoge didn't make you do that.
Yeah. So when I saw him, I was like, listen,
you owe me £100.
Just on the next one, I'm going to double down. I was like, I don't expect you to pay me the £100, but the next time I have that bet, I'm going in for 200.
Yeah, the next time I put £100 on that, I expect you to run faster, Eliud.
Yeah.
All right? So get on that helicopter.
I just need you, Eliud Kipchoge, to do something that's never been done by a human being before. For me to make a small financial gain. Can you do that for me, please, Eliud?
You know what? He's a nice guy. He might go for it.
Yes, Kris, I will. Yeah, so that's the For Rangers race.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, there are lots of mad moments, lots of mad things that happen. It's a beautiful place.
It's been kind of nice as well for us just to get to talk about it, because if there's one thing we do a lot of, is interviewing people that have done awesome stuff. But we got to do some really awesome stuff in Kenya last year. And this is how it came about and what happened. Yeah,
and I think for us, we can confidently say we are in talks now. So this was almost like, because it had never been done before, all the organisations were kind of tentatively working. It's like, let's do a year, let's do a second year, see how it works. We're already in talks of making this long-term and in our calendar forever. So that hopefully will be the next kind of announcement that this is here to stay. And if you're listening to this and kind of debating whether you should go into the ballot or not, we don't know for 100% certainty that this race is going to be long term, even though we're working towards it. It could only run for 3 years. So there's a lot of things put together here. There's a lot of things that need to happen for this race to happen. There's protected conservancies need to give us permission, that they give permission to no other people. Each of the organisations need to be 100% in line with these things. There needs to be stability in the country. There needs to be a non-impact or no recent impacts in area to affect the race. The weather needs to be on, but the rainy season can't be too bad. There's a lot of things that could potentially stop this event from being long term. And as hard as we're going to work towards it, if you want to get in on this, now is your time.
Yeah.
Get in on that ballot, because you just don't know. And the guys that were in the first year have got that on their ribbon. They were the first to do that. And they were probably thinking that this event was going to go, colossal into the things, and there'd be thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the years that do it. It might not be that case.
Yeah, we have no idea. We hope. That's what we're hoping.
Realistically, if we do this event for 3 years, there's 200 people that get an opportunity to do this. And financially, here, if we want to go back to capitalism, financially, we work this out that if you wanted to pay for each conservancy fee as an individual tourist, drive around in a car with a tour guide and stay on each conservancy for the night, for the 5 days on the same route, it would cost you in the region of $125,000 US.
God, I knew it was a lot. I figured it'd be intense.
$125,000.
That's outrageous.
Yeah. So, 2,750 doesn't sound too bad, does it?
No, especially when a chunk of that's going to charity as well. So,
So it's one of those things that we do it for the love of it. For Rangers do it for the love of it, and so to Save the Rhino. We can talk about it all day until the elephants come home in this, rather than the cows come home.
Oh,
in this
well done.
scenario.
I like that.
But listen to our runners. Go listen to the testimonials, and that's genuine feedback of this has been awesome. So we're confident in that we've got a really good event here that can change the world for the better, change the lives of Rangers, and also change your life.
Absolutely. Go to Kenya. It's beautiful.
There we go.
Is that the note we're going to end on?
Yeah, probably.
Go on then, go to Kenya.
Yeah.
Out of it.
Go on. It's not Yorkshire, but...
Yeah, but nowhere's Yorkshire. You've got to make do once you get out of it.
As always, guys, if you've made it this far, go that extra mile and subscribe or leave us a comment or a review.
Yeah, get a review in there. And whatever service you're using as well, we're on Stitcher and Castbox now. If any of you use those, great, get on there, rate us on there.
I'll tell you why you should do it, and it's not because we get like a little tickle of gratification when we get a subscriber.
I mean, don't get me wrong, we both like likes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as much, but it's nice to know that we're not talking in a room to ourselves.
Yeah,
that's nice. But what it allows us to do is contact guests that have really busy schedules. They're at the top of their game, and we can kind of tempt them in with numbers.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where if we have a lot of subscribers, we've got loads of downloads and hits and stuff like that. If we can get the subscriptions there and we can get the reviews and we can rank higher, then we're more likely to get Eliud Kipchoge on the podcast, so we can contact him on your behalf and question him on your behalf. We're more
basically,
likely to...
if you want to hear us completely starstruck talking to Eliud Kipchoge, then it's your fault if it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If you haven't rated us, then it's your fault that you didn't get to listen to that.
It's your fault that Jess Ennis isn't sat in my house right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your fault that we haven't talked to Usain Bolt yet.
Yeah. Why are you denying us of this opportunity?
God damn it, people. If you could just go out there and review us.
So
that beep there tells me that the GoPro's just died.
Awesome. So now YouTube is gone.
We should probably leave.
Yeah,
I think we'll leave it at that.
So thanks again, guys, for this. Next episode is with Adam Kimball. So lots of tips and advice in that. Remember to go back and listen to our Jungle Ultra episode if you want more actual hard facts on ultra running. Leave us a review and all those kind of jazzy things. We've got Kimball talking about his next thing, which he's going to go for a fastest known time to take off Kilian Jornet. You know that guy that you can also run fast. You've heard of him.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about him becoming a member of staff and what that entails. We're going to talk about our little run around Britain. And
yeah, should be pretty good. And eventually we'll talk to Dave Stash again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tune in next week, guys.
Have a lovely week.